and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are joining me again from the starting grid before the first race of the Eastern European TCR in 2024. Always thrilling, always exciting. The cars lined up on the grid, and it is Adam Colt starting from pole. Last year he was trying to take on the fight for the title to his teammate Matteo Homola, but then he came short. But this year it seems the tables might be turning, as Adam won the opening qualifying and scored the pole position for the opening race of the season. Adam, joining you on the grid, you're back in the Eastern European TCR. Last year you came short in the fight with your teammate for the title, but now the tables are turning, you're on pole.
The qualification was a bit tricky because of the red flag, but I have the speed and I want to enjoy the race, and I hope the result will come by itself.
Is this the type of track where you can keep everybody behind?
We will see. It's the first race for me here, so I can tell you after the race.
Have fun. Well, now head over to the other side. Local star, local boy. We used to see him in the Suzuki Swift Cup Europe, but he's gaining more and more starts in the TCR world. Attila Bucci. Last year he came to the Czech Republic, to Brno, to show us what he's made of and scored a victory. Now he's racing on his home soil, brand new track, and he's put his car back on the front row. So, what are your views in front of this race, Attila?
I've still got no clue about my race pace, so it's definitely going to be interesting, to see what we can do on the second half of the race. I won't be surprised if Matteo would have a great start, since he's always very good at starting. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that I hope that I will have a better pace than them in the second half of the race, and I don't know, have as minimal tire degradation as possible, and that's the key to success.
Thank you so much. So those were your front row starters on the outside of the track. And row number 2, it is last year's series champion Matteo Homola, but we have to leave the grid. And because I have to run away, we're going to have a short switchback. It's not only the Eastern European TCR on the grid, it's also TCR Endurance, and we have the pole sitter right here with us.
Thank you so much. That clearly is not me. Enjoy. We start moving because we're doing a driver change also on the grid for the commentator. We're gonna be with Eric Briadori, which is one of the drivers who set the pole for the TCR Eastern European Championship here, the maiden race of the series. Eric, which was a driver who had the chance to fight twice for the title in TCR Italy, a young driver but still with a long experience, a family with a huge experience in races. His father was already racing, running a team that gave you the chance. We just crossing the pit lane, then finally you will start talking us about the series, which is gonna be at a very huge challenge here, because we're gonna have a 2-hour race for the first hour today. Then there will be a cut at the end of the 55 minutes plus 1 lap. So first of all, Eric, welcome to this championship, and tell us how was qualifying for you and how is this track?
Thank you. Hi everyone. First race of the season, brand new season and new championship for us this year. New team also, so everything is new for me. Also the track on this weekend. But until now everything is going on well. So my teammate Turgos is on the car now. He will make the first part of the race, and we will see.
Thank you so much, Eric. We will see you in the second part of the race, and now guys, enjoy this race.
So we are now on the formation lap, cars already onto the track and getting their tyres and brakes and everything ready. Well, warm up their machines, cool down their heads, I would say. And we've got Adam Colt, last year's third driver overall in the standings, now sitting on pole position. Red flagged session earlier on this morning that handed him the pole position, but he's definitely fast and he will definitely fight for that victory. He scored 1 last season, he will want to add many more this year. Alongside him though, Attila Bucci, who showed us his speed last year, and he's coming back for more on his home soil. Matteo Homola, last year's champion, on the second row, joined by Giacomo Germandi, who switched marks, switched brands, and he's now at the wheel of the brand new Honda Civic. Behind him, the earlier Civic models in the hands of Mertl Motorsport guys. René Kircher, second guy overall from last year in B5, alongside him David Kajaya in B6. Martin Kadlecik, last year's Clio Cup dominant champion, switching over to TCR with Aditis Racing and the current Audi RS3, sitting 7th on the grid. Alongside him Petr Čížek, waiting for his first Eastern European TCR victory. Žarko Kněgo from Croatia in 9th, and alongside him Vít Smejkal with the second Express Auto Racing Cupra. Jiří Zbožínek making a switch from Clio to TCR World in the hands of Janik Motorsport guys with the Hyundai Elantra. Alongside him Franjo Dubreta, then Ivar Zvalers and Jordan Dolishka. And then we've also got the grid of the guys doing the endurance race, so pairings of Konukoglu and Brigliadori, Pinar and Özen, Kazan and Okiai, and Barkovic Takac. But the green flag is already up in the air, which means that we are ready to do the start in the Formula 1 style fashion. The red lights are off and we are racing in Hungary. Adam Colt from pole position seems to be having a slow start, so it is Attila Bucci already leading, but pushing Matteo Homola onto the grass, coming into the first corner. This is going to be a massive fight, and there's also a fight for third between Germandi and one of the Mertl Motorsport Hondas, having contact in the first corner already, but they are through. Adam Colt dropping it all the way down to 6th. Terrible start from the Czech driver, and he is going to have to do it all on the track and catch up all the lost places. Mertl Motorsport Hondas fighting each other in the end of the last sector, and there's also Petr Čížek up into 7th, having done short work of Martin Kadlecik, as it seems, but it is Attila Bucci leading on his home track in front of last year's champion Matteo Homola from Giacomo Germandi in 3rd. Then it is one of the Mertl Motorsport Hondas, seem to be René Kircher, trying it down the inside, the car number 8. Behind him Adam Colt, who's already made it past David Kajaya, so he's made 1 place, but having started from pole, he is now all the way down to 5th. Petr Čížek in 7th from, it seems like, Žarko Kněgo in his brand new liveried Hyundai Elantra, which means that Martin Kadlecik must have dropped his Audi all the way somewhere towards the back end of the top 10. We're waiting for him to come to view as well, and there is Adam Colt piling on pressure on René Kircher. This is the fight for 4th, and Adam Colt forcing Kircher into a mistake, having a switchback, but he's now finding himself on the outside of the last chicane, and he's had to slow down a little bit, which now opens the door for David Kajaya to attack once again. And is Petr Čížek also going to try and come through as he slips streaming past? But this is Giacomo Germandi making a launch on Matteo Homola in the fight for 2nd, as Matteo was trying to line himself up on the attack for the attack on Attila Bucci. Bucci still leading from Homola and Germandi. Mertl 4th, Colt 5th. Then we have David Kajaya in 6th, and no change there. And Petr Čížek lost a place to Žarko Kněgo currently in the fight for 7th. Ivar Svalers up to 9th, Vítek Smejkal in 10th, and some terrible luck for Martin Kadlecik, who is all the way down somewhere in 17th. Did we have him even on the start, or what happened there? Because we do not have him there around the 10th place, around the 7th place, and even in the top 10 where he started. And it seems like even good progress was made by the endurance guys, because we've got one of the cars all the way up to 12th.
Yes, it's Konokoglu who managed to do a great start actually in the first part of the race, with Pinar trying to attack the other Audi RS3 LMS car, but in the end the Texaco Team AMS finally starting to do some inroads, actually overtaking a couple of the cars of the Eastern Europe guys, and also great stuff by the Cupra Leon of Zile Motorsport with Barkovic going up into third place.
Back to front, this is René Kircher coming under pressure from Adam Colt, the pole sitter, the hungry pole sitter. You'll of course notice that the time counter says 56 minutes. Yes, the first 25 minutes will be done with the Eastern European TCR guys as well. Then they're going to finish their race and leave the endurance to finish. But now it is Adam Colt who is finally through on René Kircher after 2 laps. So he prepared everything on the first lap, and now he's made the move stick, and he's up to 4th, and he can start actually to catch up with the leaders who have already gone a little bit into the distance. 3 seconds between Adam Colt and Giacomo Germandi, so some time to be one back. Petr Cížek also trying to have some of that for himself, attacking David Kajaya, slight touch between the two. As we are heading towards the back part of the track through the quick right-hander into the chicane, Petr Cížek trying to look if he can line up for another move. Through the chicane they go, and around the hairpin with Jarko Knego in rears, followed by Franjo Dubreta in his Cupra Leon and Vitek Smejkal in P10, Martin Kadlecik. So we do have him there, lifetiming starting to show him, but only in P11, so that was not a particularly good start by last year's Clio champion, but this is the first race of his TCR career, so yeah, need to give him time, definitely. It's a big difference. The car definitely holding in the corners way better than the Clios, even the suspension way more sophisticated, so the cornering speed you have to get used to. Definitely way higher, but Martin Kadlecik has been doing a great job across his first weekend in the Eastern European TCR, and not really too far away from the top spots. But of course, he's had a lot to do in this race, and he's already up to 10th. He's just made a move on Vitek Smejkal, so Martin Kadlecik back into top 10. Ivars Valers down in 12th. And Jirka Zbožinek down in 17th in his Elantra. Of course, another difficult debut from one of the youngsters coming through the ranks from the Renault Clio Cup.
Yes, a good start from Kadlecik actually, who is also part of the TCR European Endurance Grid, currently in 2nd place in that championship, with Attila Bucci actually being in P1, so currently leading both races. Of course, his main event being TCR Eastern Europe, and now coming under pressure from Homola, who looks like has some great pace, especially in Sector 2.
Attila Bucci 6/10 ahead of Mathieu Homola. That was across the line entering this lap. Now you can basically see that gap for yourself. Mathieu Homola trying to put more pressure. This is that sort of waiting period, of course, 25 minutes. That's the length of the, so to say, sprint race of the Eastern European TCR. And even though some other cars have to go away longer than the Eastern European guys, or let's say TCR guys, still you've got to think about your tires, not to destroy them too soon. Could be front limited track here, and yeah, Attila Bucci trying to hold on to it, trying to manage good speed. And Mathieu Homola slightly piling the pressure on. You see his experience, you see that he doesn't need to attack it, he doesn't need to go aggressive in every single corner. He's just building that pace, he's just conserving tires, waiting for a good opportunity to arise. Now we are running down the back straight behind the main grandstand. Lots of spectators, of course, choosing to stand at the very top of it to have great view not only of the pits and the start and finish straight, but also this straight that is parallel to start and finish, and at the end of it one of the great overtaking spots on the circuit. Attila Bucci leading Mathieu Homola carefully and patiently, staying second. Behind them It is Germandi in third, and Adam Colt catching up. Adam Colt definitely catching up. If we check the times on the previous lap, 144.5 done by Colt, Germandi 144.7, and the fastest lap of the race actually by Mathieu Homola in 144.4.
It's a really interesting first part of the race because, of course, more experienced drivers, as you said, are waiting for the right moment to attack and kind of conserving the tires, and especially, for example, Homola trying to see where Butch is vulnerable. So trying to see maybe a couple of his lines, seeing perhaps some weaknesses in turn 1, for example, or like in the chicane. So trying to see where he could attack and where perhaps the overtake would come.
Put the pressure on and maybe even force Attila into locking up the tyres a couple of times, which of course would then take away from their lifetime. This is David Kajaya still under pressure from Petr Čížek. When this is Jiří Zbožínek, Jirka Zbožínek, car number 11, trying to make way from 17th, where he dropped at the start of the race. And this is an opportunity for us also to look further down the field. This should now be a fight with Jordan Dolishka. Austrian girl joining the grid for the Eastern European campaign as well, here in Hungary.
Yeah, and right behind them, the fight between Pinar and Barkovic in the TCR European Endurance, with the latter trying a move with his Cupra Leon car with the Red Bull livery. Actually really nice seeing those colors here in TCR European Endurance as well. And so another great fight between the two, with the images of course trying to see all of the grid with the beautiful drone camera right on the back straight here towards the second sector, with many cars trying to see and trying to take different lines.
Ooh, there's one of Elantras, one of Yannick Motorsport. Elantras stopped on the track, or stopped right next to it. There was a problem for someone, and I just wanted to say that, oh, and that is Jirka Zbožínek in the gravel. So he made a mistake under braking, presumably, into that very difficult turn 5, and he seems to have beached his car, at least by the front axle, and trying to reverse back onto the track. Not really sure if he can still do that. We also had Martin Kadlecik skipping one of the chicanes, but now he's still 9th. This is the fight for the lead, and we definitely saw Jirka Zbožínek in trouble. Let's see if he gets out of that, because if not, it might actually trigger a safety car.
It's a real shame for him because he was trying to make some inroads, as well as a couple of other cars that we see from the drone camera. But so far, Butch and Homola being the class of the field, actually 3 seconds over Giacomo Germandi in 3rd place, and of course Homola trying to see where Butch could be overtaken, but the Hungarian so far doing a great job in P1.
But let's not forget about Adam Colt, the pole sitter, who's currently the fastest man on track. He set another lap time 2 laps back, 1:44.1 actually, so he was multiple tenths per lap faster than everyone else. And also the previous lap he was already half a second faster, slower than his best achievement, but he still did 1:44.6, while for example Germandi right in front of him 1:45.3, so there was even, what was it, it was a 9/10 difference between 7/10 difference between the two. And further up ahead, Homola 1:44.7, Bucci 1:44.9. We've got lots of yellow flags, and safety car is out. It seems that safety car is out. I do see, at least on one of the marshalling posts, now more of them still, taking out the SC boards, which means that the safety car is coming out onto the track, and that will get the entire race neutralized. All the gap will disappear.
And so we'll see if Homola can actually attack Bocci after the safety car period, with now the safety car waiting for the guys before turn 1. But this could actually be really good for the guys from P3 downwards, because they can actually gain back those 3 seconds that Bocci and Homola had on them, and perhaps with faster tires or just a better understanding of the track, could actually fight for the win.
This is effectively bringing Adam Colt back into the game for the victory, having made a terrible start. We're going to have to talk to him what happened, if there were any clutch issues or simply late start, late reaction. We'll see. but Adam Gold has caught up with Giacomo Germandi. He's trying to get past. We of course know that Germandi is a difficult driver to get by. He's a ruthless driver. Well, I won't say ruthless, but I mean aggressive driver. And yeah, he's definitely having his elbows out and not giving any place for free. So Adam Gold will have to take that into consideration in that respective fight. But Germandi is the one now blocking him from that view of the fight for the race victory. And this is their teammate, new teammate, Jirka Zbožínek, replacing Polish driver Karlo Czepiel, who drove for Janik Motorsport team last season. Now it is Jiří Zbožínek, who has dropped the car under brakes now into the gravel, and as he did not manage to get back on track, he's gonna have to use some help from the track marshal, so the race is effectively ended for the Czech youngster. Fortunately not anywhere in the barrier.
And let's not forget that this safety car will actually bunch things up for TCR European Endurance as well. Of course, Bucci being in P1 at the moment with Martin Kadlecik, not only being P8 overall, but of course P2 in the TCR European Endurance standings. But the fight for the podium is still pretty much alive, with Konukoglu and Pinar fighting for that third spot. But let's not forget, of course, the Zile Motorsport car of Barkovic and later Takac, who will be in the car after the pit stop phase. They are fighting for the podium at the moment, with the car with the Red Bull livery trying to finish on the podium.
So, tow-away activities currently underway. Some more instructions to the driver, what to do, what not to do, and how to get out, so that we can resume the race as soon as possible. We've got 45 minutes left on the clock, which means that we've already used up 15 minutes of the Eastern European TCR time. That means 10 minutes left until the end of that particular race, and we've already done 7 laps in the meantime, with Attila Bucci leading from second on the grid, as he made a good move, basically great start, and already after a couple of meters he was leading the race, just as Adam Gold messed up his own start, and now he's playing catch up. Maťo Homola up into second from Germandi. There they are, to the rest of the pack. Gold fourth, René Kircher in fifth from David Kajaya in sixth. Petr Čížek P7, Martin Kadlecik already up to eighth. Žarko Knego behind him in P9, and Franjo Dubreta completing the top 10 for the moment, with Vít Smejkal right behind in 11th.
And you were talking with Attila actually before the start of the race, and he was unsure about his pace. Well, I think he will be pretty satisfied with it, and with himself as well in the first part of the race. But it will be very interesting after the safety car period. Of course, the TCR Eastern Europe guys not having much time left in their race, and so it will be very interesting to see how Attila actually manages the restart.
Things will go impatient, things will go aggressive probably, but we also know that Maťo Homola, last year's champion, he is very experienced, and he will probably not get dragged into any overly aggressive moves. Jirka Zbožínek out of the trouble, so he's allowed to drive back, but only to the pits, as he's used the external assistance. He cannot continue in the race, so he can get back to pits, so that we don't lose much more time, and the car gets back to its mechanics as soon as possible. But that will be it for the Czech driver. Attila Bucci, very quick in quali, just like last year in Brno, questioning his own race pace, of course, because to manage the tyres across the 25-minute race is a little different discipline than trying to go quick for one lap, and Maťo Homola knows that incredibly well. He's also helped with the GT program earlier on, and he maybe even entered into the endurance race later on, but now he's got a TCR fight on his hands, and we are about to restart the race with Jirka Zbožínek coming back to the pits and retiring the car. The safety car has its lights off already, making its way back to the pits, and we are about to restart the TCR race here in Balaton in in just a couple of seconds. Everybody awaiting the cars back on the start and finish straight. Impatiently, and is the local driver, the local young hero, Attila Bucci. He's going to choose the moment, and it comes now. Attila Bucci restarting the TCR race here in front of the home crowd from Matteo Homola and Giacomo Germandi. Adam Colt immediately under pressure from René Kircher. Germandi making a move on Homola. There's touch. Homola. Oh, and there's big contact between Kajaya and Žarko Knego, both of them ending up in the gravel of the first corner, and this might bring the safety car right back just as we restarted the race. This was a big one. Attila Bucci leading from Homola, who was tagged in the first corner, then having to correct the beginning slide, which he did, but he skipped across the runoff area next to the first corner. But then behind them, this happened, and David Kajaya and Žarko Knego are out of this race on the spot. Dramatic moments at the restart, and this will neutralize the race once again, which is now continuing still by the end, by the time we get back to the start and finish straight. So Bucci leading from Homola and Germandi, Adam Colt fourth, René Kircher in fifth, and then we've lost Kajaya and Knego, who must have completely missed his braking spot and collected David Kajaya, who wasn't even in the fight with him, because Kajaya had Petr Čížek right behind, and also Martin Karlečík. So Žarko Knego must have simply come out of nowhere.
It's a real shame for both of them, with Kajaya actually trying to move up the grid, but Knego, of course, missing the braking point and actually
red flag. We've got a red flag. Okay, wasn't really expecting that. This would be, I would still say, a safety car affair, but that would probably have caused another lengthy safety car period, which would effectively ended any chances for any changes in the TCR Eastern European race. This basically gives us the opportunity to continue with that race, because we are stopping it on the track. Let's see that. Ooh, that was a big one. Žarko Knego literally came out of nowhere, because I was actually looking into the first corner to the exit, where I was trying to see how that tag between Germandi and Homola would play out, because I saw Homola in the full opposite lock trying to correct that slide, and he was through that basically getting himself off the track into the runoff area, and out of nowhere then came Žarko Knego. I absolutely didn't see him coming. Suddenly, like a big white smudge appeared on the right side of our screen, and we just saw that big hit, which was a really big one. Happy to see both drivers stepping out of their cars and walking away. And there you see the reaction, just Kajaya
not happy with him.
Yeah, what the heck was that?
It's a real shame, because Kajaya was looking to be pretty quick, and of course he did not see Knego coming, of course, into turn one. But both drivers out of the race, and with the race stopped, we see the timer blocked at 40 minutes and 17 seconds left. So the TCR Eastern Europe guys will have roughly 5 minutes to go in their race. So I think there will be plenty of action once the restart comes.
Let's see. Let's hope nothing as aggressive and as unfortunate as we've just witnessed. We would like to see eventful last 5 minutes of the Eastern European race, first race of the season, actually. And on your right hand side you'll see also the GT cars being driven out of Parc Fermé after their race through the pits. But the two cars beached in the gravel, and of course they will probably be impossible to simply drive out or drag out. Definitely not under their power, but that was a pretty big hit, wheel on wheel, front axle on front axle, and this might cause significant damage inside the cars, because of course these are front wheel driven cars, so you've got your differential, you've got the gearbox, you've got the engine, you've got everything, all the power coming through the front wheels, and that was a significant hit. So let's see what kind of damage this causes, and if the cars, well, how severely damaged they are, and if they can even enter tomorrow's races.
Yeah, exactly. With tomorrow's race scheduled at 10:20 a.m. of course local time, but this red flag gives us some time to see how things are panning out in the TCR European Endurance, with Attila Bucci in P1 at the moment, with Martin Kadlecic following closely behind in second place, and the fight for the podium is very much alive, with Konukoglu so far defending third place for Texaco Team AMS, with Pinar in fourth place, and Zile Motorsport with their Cupra Leon car currently in fifth position, with Zoltan Barkovic trying his hardest to fight for the podium. But let's not forget about Seda Kachan, a female driver who looks to be really competitive around here today. So far in sixth place with the other Texaco AMS car. And so we'll see, of course, once the TCR Eastern Europe cars go back into the pit lane, how the situation will pan out. But of course we're expecting some great fights. They are pretty bunched up together, especially Konukoglu, Pinar and Barkovic. They were separated by like a second and a half throughout the first 20 minutes of racing, so we're expecting some great fights between them as well. And of course now watching the TCR European Endurance car with the Zille Motorsport, recognizable by the Red Bull livery. Of course, really nice to see those colors here today, and just in front of them Pinar in the Texaco Team AMS Gen 1 car. Of course, the TCR European Endurance giving the chance to those models built before 2018 to race competitively around tracks such as the BalatonPark circuit.
Actually had a chance to talk to Gila Motorsport members yesterday, and admired the livery myself, because those are the typical iconic Red Bull colors, which I was really happy to see back in 2016 at Formula 1 turning matte, because that's what you want. That
Such
just
a cool look
brings
as well.
out the color properly, with mostly the cars usually being covered in glossy colors, but if you actually go matte, it just gives it a particular look. And in my mind, they're just the best.
He pops out more as well.
Yeah, sure. And it's actually, if you've ever been to a motorsport, or, to a motor race personally, you'll notice that most of the colors are actually really incredibly bright, because the cameras always sort of absorb some of that. So in order for the colors to be really nicely visible, you really have to go extremely sort of high vis in the real world, that they are noticeable on the cameras. For example, even if you look at the Yannick Motorsport cars, they have recognizable red highlights, but if you come to the track itself, they're shining like crazy, because you're really using that shiny type of color, I would say.
Yeah, definitely the matte finish that gives it a great look, actually, especially on the Cupra car, which is a really beautiful car in itself, but with the Red Bull livery it kind of pops out a lot more, especially in this kind of field. With we see the recovery of one of the two cars, the number 74 car of Zarko Knego, getting rescued by the marshals. So far doing a great job to try and of course clear the track in order for us to get back racing.
And we're even trying to examine a little bit the extent of damage on Kajaya's car. Maybe if we have a chance to zoom in on that car a little bit more, we might see what kind of damage there is to the front axle. And not only Knego, but also David Kajaya's car that was actually standing there. So we see, this is actually basically, if you're introducing a new model and you don't want your competition to spy on you, you give it like a camo livery, which is what the TCR Dubrovnik, the Croatian team's livery, always very creative with their liveries. So that's what their livery reminds me of, that sort of camo, because with all the black and white stripes, you can't really tell how much the car is damaged. But on the other hand, on the other side of the barrier now, it was way more visible, way more obvious on the Mertel Motorsport Honda, and that destruction of the front axle was absolutely evident on the Honda. So, fingers crossed that the Mertel Motorsport guys can make it ready until tomorrow. They have some time, but that will also depend on the extent of the damage, just as Žarko Kněgo's car is now being put on the flatbed.
Yeah, and it will be very interesting to see if both of them can make the race tomorrow, but this is the replay, of course.
Yeah, it seems like
He just misses the braking point,
it's
didn't he?
very, very weird because, yeah, he's presumably missed the braking point, and in order not to crash to the car right in front of himself, he just swayed away, but swerved the car, jinked to the right, and then he was, you know, on a destruction journey already. And once you've committed, there's nothing you can do about it. There's no getting out of that, and you're just hoping it won't be a big one. But of course, at the same time, you're realizing it will be a big one because there's just nowhere to go. There's cars everywhere. It's right at the restart. There's no gaps. Everyone's running right behind each other, and you'd be extremely lucky if you just go through the pack and not hit anyone.
And of course, being a safety car restart, it was almost impossible to find a gap, not to hit any car. And he did well to actually avoid both Cizek and I think it was Kadlecik behind him. But unfortunately, of course, Kajaya was on a collision course with him, and there was nothing that both drivers could do at that point in time.
So we'll be restarting in 1 minute. Petr Cizek may have been remembered of a similar situation a couple of years back in Slovakia, where he was actually terribly hit from behind by Giacomo Germandi, and that effect he was racing a full-in race Academy Cupra back then, so same model that he's driving now, and that car was basically shortened by a good meter by that hit. So it's really good job that if anything, Žarko managed to avoid him, but of course, unfortunately, it had to be someone in that situation, and the bad luck fell onto David Kajaya today.
Yeah, and of course now the safety car leading the whole pack, and it will be very interesting to see how Attila Bucci now takes things on, because of course it's one thing to lead the race, it's another thing to lead a safety car restart, it's yet another thing to lead a red flag restart, which is of course a safety car restart, but with a lot of time paused before that. So it'll be very interesting mentally wise to see how Bucci can fight off Homola with, of course, much more experience in the car
and
not
only
the
and not only the pause, but of course also the fact that you've been sat on the grid for so long, which means all the temperatures from the tires and brakes are gone. You now have to rebuild them over the course of hopefully one lap. And yeah, so we're going to be again prone to a similar accident that we just saw between Kněgo and the Kajaya. We're just hoping that everybody does a good job in getting their tires and brakes ready, which doesn't seem to be the case right now. Bucci is weaving across the track, of course, to bring some heat into his front tires. He doesn't want to do that too much, of course, because we are now closing towards the end of the race, which means that the tires are past their best. And they do not want to overheat them too much. They do not want to lock them up. But even the safety car seems to be running rather slowly, because it seems to me that the entire grid is quite stretched apart. So yeah, the last cars are quite far apart from the top of the pack. So we'll see. The time is going again, of course. So this is already counting towards the race distance and towards the race time itself. And the safety car should get back to the pits right after this lap, or at the end of this lap. And we will be racing again with Attila Bucci leading. He's got to hold his nerves in in place, and we should have time for roundabout 2 laps effectively.
Yeah, it's either 1 or 2 laps for the TCR Eastern Europe guys, with Bucci and Homola leading the pack. Of course, then we'll go on with the TCR European Endurance and seeing that action unfold after the 35-minute mark on the screen that we see. And of course, it will be very interesting to see now how Homola actually tries to do things. Of course, do you go for P1? Do you try to go for glory right immediately from the first race, or do you just hold back, maybe let this one go, but still secure a second place, which would be incredibly helpful for him in the championship?
So there we go. Attila Bucci leading us off, and he's gone on the throttle way sooner than previously. He's trying to, break the entire pack, which he's done. And he's even found that moment of surprise over Mathieu Homola, so he's covering himself off. Nice job by Attila Bucci into the first corner, but Mathieu Homola, very experienced, he's already behind and back on his tail. But look at the gaps in the field, which are effectively, hopefully preventing the same scenario as we just saw at the first restart. Attila Bucci leading the way. We're on what seems to be the penultimate lap of the race from Mathieu Homola. Then there's a bit of a gap to third placed Giacomo Germandi. Adam Coate still under pressure from René Kircher, second placed guy overall in last year's standings, fighting with third placed man overall. And there they are, Giacomo Germandi making a big mistake into turn 5, going late on the brakes, and now he has served himself on a silver plate to Adam Coate. What is Adam going to do about it? First chance coming here into the chicane, but Adam tries to stay patient, but he's going around the outside. He's going to try a switchback and prepare a chance into the hairpin. Another switchback maybe, and Germandi glued to the inside line. There's touch from behind. René Kircher waiting for his chance to come up. And we are now going to run down the back straight into another chicane. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big chance for Adam Coate. Giacomo Germandi, what is he going to do under brakes? Adam Coate looking down the inside. And he's now sending Germandi off the track, forced him into the mistake. Kircher is close, but what is Germandi going to do? He's now skipping across the gravel, and this is handing third place to Adam Coate. Nice job, mentally needs to be said. Nice game from Adam Coate, who's forced Germandi into a mistake. The Italian driver went through the gravel and basically handed the third place over to the Czech racer, who, having started from pole, is now at least back on the podium on the final lap, what must be the final lap. Okay, but we've also reduced the overall distance.
Yeah,
let's say, sorry, overall
5 minutes it looks like.
Yeah, 30 minutes left on the clock. And there's yellow flags, one of the endurance cars, one of the Audis in the gravel. So yellow flags are back out, and that's in the last sector. So if there is still any chance to fight for anything in this race, it has to be done now into the chicane, into the hairpin, because towards the back end, towards that last sector, there are going to be yellow flags preventing any further action. This is Martin Kadlecik behind Petr Čížek in their fight for 6th, behind Germandi. Is anything going to happen here? Because this might effectively be their last chance to do something about their positions. Martin Kadlecik having a tiny look, but of course rather trying to play it safe on debut, not to make any silly mistake.
Yeah, just to tell you guys, the yellow flag is because of the number 3 car in the TCR European Endurance of Barkin Pinar, who's out on the gravel and trying to restart right now the car.
And there we go. Yeah, time elapsed 25 minutes 50 seconds. So effectively this is it for the TCR Eastern Europe, which means that Attila Bucci is now coming home to score victory in the opening race of the season. Attila Bucci victorious on home soil here at BalatonPark. First race on the track. Mathieu Homola coming home second. Adam Coate third from René Kircher. Giacomo Germandi in 5th from Petr Čížek, Martin Kadlecik, Víc Mejkal, Ivars Valers, but now we also have Franjo Dubreta jumping up to 8th, so there was a tiny little glitch in the live timing, but the drivers of the Eastern European TCR were told not to drive too slowly on the final lap, in which they are heading back to the pits, because the rest of the guys keep on racing.
Yep, with TCR European Endurance now starting its second part of the race with a great move by Zoltan Barkovic actually in the second restart from the safety car, overtaking both Pinar and Kachan, so trying to fight for the podium with Konukoglu not too far ahead. Looks like a 4.2 second gap between the two cars, with Attila Bucci of course winning the TCR Eastern Europe race, and we'll see now his race in the TCR European Endurance how unfolds.
So at the end of this lap, the track is going to feel a little abandoned. There's still guys to keep on racing. And we're effectively now waiting for the Eastern European TCR drivers to return back to the pits. There's Attila Bucci, victorious in the Eastern European race, as you've just said. And he's done it again. He scored a dominant victory last year in Brno. And this season, you can only wait.
Yeah, and as you can see there, the Red Bull livery car of Zoltan Barkovic in the Cupra trying to go in front, but this is Konukoglu in the Texaco Team AMS car going forward to start lap number 13 with the Cupra right behind him. Looks like a 3.3 second gap between the two, and then of course the other Texaco Team AMS car of Pinar in third place now with Attila Bucci. Looks like he's going back to the pit lane to perhaps preserve the car for the second race starting tomorrow in the TCR Eastern Europe after a great win today.
So this is now the race splitting, and
with Konukoglu now in the car. Of course, the pit stop phase will now likely start with the Audi RS3 that is currently leading the overall standings in TCR European Endurance, likely to get back to the pit to change driver and a minimum of 2 tires, with of course the pair of Konukoglu and Brigliadori leading so far. And here you can see the number 3 car that is unfortunately beached in the gravel, that is Barkin Pinar.
Brings out the safety car, currently third safety car of the race. Amazing.
A really eventful race.
Yeah.
And this will bunch up the grid pretty nicely, of course. Unfortunately, the number 3 car looks to be out of the race. A real shame for the Texaco Team AMS car with Pinar that was supposed to give Zekai Ozen the car in the second half of the race, the junior driver who could have fought for that win right there. But unfortunately, the safety car means that they're out of the race, and of course bunches the grid up, and we could see a great fight between so far the two main protagonists of the race, which were Konukoglu and Barkovic.
So let's just hope that there are cars left for the rest of the race. Unfortunately, one of them beached there at the side of the track, and with the safety car, I'm just going to say that this is it for the TCR Eastern European part of the race. We'll be back with more, of course, back for more tomorrow at 10:20, where again the two grids will join for a common race, and that will be again another beautiful fight, definitely, in the season that has just started for the Eastern European TCR. So thank you, Daniele. With that, I'm gonna leave you to it, and we're gonna be ready after the lunch break. Let's see if we have anything left out of that after all the delays we've had this today so far. But after the lunch break, we'll be back with the first race of the Formula 4, the Central European Formula 4, and then a little later on second race of the Suzuki Swift Cup, and then of course the endurance race later on today.
Yep, thank you, Pavel, and we'll be right back with the live images. Of course, the number 3 car now rescued from the tow truck, trying to get back underway, but it looks like it will be hard for the number 3 car to be back out there with the compatriots right there so far in the race. Of course, Turgut Konukoglu so far leading things off in the TCR European Endurance with the number 2 car, Texaco Team AMS fielding 3 cars this weekend, and the Turkish driver who is now leading the pack with the white, red and orange livery. Now under attack, likely when the safety car will go back into the pit lane from the Zille Motorsport car, the Hungarian team, of course, in their home race, racing with the Cupra Leon TCR DSG car, of course fighting for the DSG win as well, with Zoltan Barkovic in the car right now, the former Suzuki Swift Cup Hungary champion. Of course, a lot of experience for him in national one-make series. When now will be back underway, he will try and overtake Konukoglu perhaps before the pit stop window, with the safety car now bunching things up for TCR European Endurance, and will be a very exciting restart actually now to see and watch in real time. Of course, the car now beached right there in the gravel. with the safety car so far out, and of course there will be a couple more laps before the safety car will go back to the pit lane, and so of course the pit stop window has been postponed. We're now starting lap number 15 with Konukoglu still in the lead, of course, and it will be very interesting to see how things pan out. And as we saw actually from the images, the number 4 car is now in the pit lane to perform that driver change, and so Seda Kachan will now likely switch to Ibrahim Okiai, the 54-year-old, currently enrolled in the gentleman class as well, so fighting for that title there too. Okiai will likely take the place of the Turkish driver. There it is, number 4 car in the pit lane with Texaco Team AMS changing the front tires. Of course, there is a minimum of 2 tires to be changed during the pit stop phase, as well as the driver. And so the number 4 car electing to do their pit stop during the safety car window, which could potentially help them quite a lot. Of course, we will see if the other Texaco Team AMS car will answer right away, with the number 2 car now currently in the lead, but of course under threat from their fellow Audi of Kachan and Okiai, with the Cupra of Barkovic and Takac following the number 3 car in second place. We'll see now the number 4 Audi ready to get back underway, with the Team AMS car ready to fight for a podium finish, with now 20 minutes and 55 seconds on the clock. Still a third of the race to go roughly. Of course, this only being stage 1 of the opening round of the season. We will have stage 2 tomorrow together with TCR Eastern Europe as well. And here you can see the number 4 car finally getting on the way, ready to disengage the pit limiter and resume racing to try and catch the pack as quickly as possible, with Ibrahim Okiai now in the car, with the safety car now rounding out yet another lap, starting lap number 16 with Konukoglu and Brigliadori, who are likely starting to think about their pit stop, with the Texaco Team AMS car splitting the strategies and therefore having the number 4 car pit before the leaders. And here you can see the 2 other cars that were in first and second place pit extremely quickly, reacting to the choice made by Kachan and Okiai, with Konukoglu being the former leader of the race, now switching to Eric Brigliadori, the quickest driver that we had in qualifying. And here you can see the number 4 car trying to rush the outlap phase, and here you can see Eric Brigliadori helping his teammate out of the car, and of course vice versa, with Konukoglu helping Brigliadori strap in the car and getting ready, maybe giving him a couple of tips on how the car is reacting on this first ever race of the TCR European Endurance. The Audi RS3 LMS car with a sequential gearbox being the car of choice for the number 2 entry. Change of both the right and the left front tires, with the mechanics, of course, 2 mechanics per car plus 1 lollipop man allowed per team, with Brigliadori and Konukoglu ready to get things back underway. There's also the Zile Motorsport car of Barkovic and Takac in the pit lane, with the latter ready to get back underway. Here is Brigliadori ready to start. The car now back on ground level, with a safety car waiting for them into turn 1. It will be very interesting to see who the leader will be after this pit stop phase, with the number 4 car now rounding out the final turn number 16, now going past, and so it will be Ibrahim Okiai who takes the lead of the race, with Konukoglu leaving the number 2 car to Brigliadori. It will be very interesting to see if Takac in the Cupra Leon car will be able to jump Brigliadori in the pits, but as you can see, the number 4 car is now the leader of the race, with Ibrahim Okiai behind the wheel, and the 54-year-old is now the man to beat, as we now see Brigliadori get back out there from the pits in front of the number 60 car of Balazs Takac, who is now trying to get back towards the Texaco Team AMS car, now in 3rd place overall, and of course trying to fight for the podium, and not only the podium, but the win. Of course, Barkovic and Takac fighting in the DSG category as well, reserved to cars with the DSG gearbox, together with Kachan and Okiai, who are now the leaders of not only the DSG class, but the overall standings as well. Roughly 17 minutes to go in this part 1 of the opening race of the season for the TCR European Endurance, a freshly made series that will travel around Europe for 4 different races. Of course, round 1 here at BalatonPark circuit, before a double header in Italy. Of course, the lovely Vallelunga circuit hosting round 2 on the 19th of May, and then Misano will have the TCR European Endurance cars ready for a lovely night race on the 21st of June, before going in the summer for the final round in around the Slovakia ring on the 25th of August. Here is the latter of the 2 cars involved in the previous crash that resulted in a red flag, with the number 74 of Zarko Knego getting back to the pit lane together with David Kajaya. But the attention now is on the TCR European Endurance grid, with Okiai and Brigliadori ready to fight as the safety car turns its lights off. And so we're ready to get back on the way here, with 60 minutes and 9 seconds to go in this first part of the opening race of the TCR European Endurance season, as Okiai gives the green flag right now, and he starts going towards turn 1, but there is immediately Eric Brigliadori trying to get the move done towards the opening corner of the circuit. Great move from Brigliadori, who wastes absolutely no time to get into P1, and so the Texaco Team AMS cars trying to build a nice gap towards Takac in 3rd place. We can see there from the drone camera in 3rd position, with the Hungarian trying to close things up not only in the overall standings but in the DSG class as well, with which now sees Okiai in 2nd place. Brigliadori then trying to build a nice gap on his teammate. Of course, Brigliadori being the quickest driver in qualifying with a 1 minute 44.2. Brigliadori, born in 2000, a 23-year-old from Cesena, who is a really experienced driver actually, despite his young age, in the TCR category. Fought for the TCR Italy title in both 2020 and 2021, winning the under 25 category there on both occasions. And as you can see now, his great pace starting to show immediately after the first few laps from the safety car. Of course, catching the safety car up on the final lap meant that Brigliadori had fresher and, of course, tires that were in temperature compared to his rival, with Ibrahim Okiai having to settle so far for a 2nd position. Here you can see Brigliadori trying to maximize this advantage early on in the latter part of the first stage. And here you can see the Cupra of Zoltan Barkovic and Balaz Takac, the latter trying to get back to 2nd position. The Cupra taking advantage of the first safety car period, getting a couple of moves done on the number 4 and the number 3 car, the latter being unfortunately out of the race, with Barkin Pinar beaching the car on the final few turns of this lovely 4.1 kilometer circuit. 30 minutes and 53 seconds to go in this opening round of the TCR European Endurance, part 1 being 60 minutes long, and then of course another 60-minute stage tomorrow at 10:20 a.m. local time. We'll see the first winners, official winners of the TCR European Endurance be declared. A race that now sees Eric Brigliadori in 1st position. Of course, the young Italian being the man to beat in qualifying. He's so far confirming his favorite status. And of course, Ibrahim Okiai trying to follow closely behind, as right now we can see the number 2 car of Brigliadori going towards the back straight, of course getting out of the hairpin into turn 10. A lovely image from the drone that helps us see the top 3 cars, with Okiai and Takac closely behind, with the latter trying to make some inroads actually on the Turkish driver, and he was not able to do so in the last lap, but as we can see from, as I can tell you from their best lap in the session, Takac looking to be around 5 to 6 tenths quicker than Ibrahim Okiai, as now Eric Brigliadori does the fastest lap of the TCR European Endurance Race with a 1 minute 45.4110, showing his speed, gaining quite a bit of time on Ibrahim Okiai, 149.5 from the Turkish driver, whereas Takac now over the line in a 1 minute 50.8 with the Cupra car, having some issues in qualifying, but bravely getting to the start of the race. They did an amazing effort to fix the little damage that unfortunately prevented them from completing a single lap in qualifying. They had to start from the bottom of the grid, but making some great inroads to fight for a podium place, and of course the DSG win, with Ibrahim Okiai currently in that spot. But of course we still have another 60 minutes of racing tomorrow at 10:20 a.m. local time to try and decide who the winner will be. Now with the Cupra car of Balazs Takac trying to get back out there and try and gain some time. And here you can see Eric Brigliadori trying to go for it and build as big of a gap as possible to show that not only he is the fastest driver of them all, but the number 2 crew deserves to be in front after this first stage. The Italian now setting another fastest lap of the race in a 1 minute 45 flat, whereas Takac is trying to gain some time on Okiai. At the moment, the Turk holding down the fort in second position, with the Cupra now crossing the start finish line. Doesn't look like Takac has the pace to gain some time over Okiai, who's doing a brilliant job to hold off second position, whereas the number 60 car is struggling to make some inroads and catch their rivals. Eric Brigliadori still out in front with 10 minutes on the dot to go as of right now, with the number 2 car trying to build up a nice gap, now 11.9 seconds over Ibrahim Okiai. A really brave effort from the DSG driver, however, who's also fighting for the gentleman category. Of course, we have 3 general classes: the overall trophy, the DSG trophy, which is reserved to cars with a DSG gearbox, and then the TCR Gen 1, which is reserved to cars that have received no updates since 2018, as per the technical notification released by the WSC, with now the number 4 car trying to hold down second place and the lead in the DSG class. But as we were talking about, we have 3 other trophies. The ladies trophy, of course, reserved to female drivers, with Seda Kachan now leading that standing. The gentleman class, with drivers of 50 years of age or more allowed to race in that class. And of course we have Kachan's teammate Ibrahim Okiai currently leading in the number 4 car. And then the junior category for drivers under 21 years of age, we had Zekai Ozen ready to start his adventure in the TCR European Endurance in the number 3 car, the Audi RS3 LMS TCR from Texaco Team AMS, but unfortunately a mistake by Barkin Pinar resulted in a DNF in this first part of the race for the number 3 car. And now Ozen will be eager to get back behind the wheel and actually get behind the wheel for the first time in a race aspect tomorrow at 10:20 a.m. for stage 2. 8 minutes and 15 seconds to go, with Eric Brigliadori still leading the white, red and orange Texaco Team AMS car, who took the outright pole position in qualifying yesterday.
Thank you, Daniele. Here we are with Mauricio Slaviero, the promoter of the TCR European Endurance. In the pit lane, a race that gave us safety car, red flag, overtakes and strategy.
Yeah, it was a lot of things happening at the same time. So I think it was, let's say, a lot of action to start the first race of our life, let's say, of our first championship. So it's nice.
It's a first little step, but we have seen an emotional restart, quite intensive fight. So, I mean, the aim was to give something fun to see, and I think you did this target.
Yeah, that's the aim. The aim is to give another opportunity, a different opportunity for the TCR teams, for the TCR drivers, to have an endurance race. That's what we are achieving now. And let's move forward. Let's go for the next races. And I'm sure that the championship will be a very big success until the end of the year.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. I'll let you come back watching the race. To you, Daniele.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and thank you to Mauricio Slaviero for his kind words. Of course, the promoter of the series that starts off here in Balaton, it's 2024 Adventure. Now, with the cameras on the number 4 car, the leader in the DSG class, with Ibrahim Okyay behind the wheel, the 54-year-old with huge experience in Turkish racing, 10 Turkish titles, and of course experience in the FIA WTCC, the World Touring Car Cup, where he raced for a full season in 2008, of course made his debut in 2006, and then raced in 2011 with the BMW 320SI, so a driver with a lot of TCR experience, and of course bringing a lot to the table for Texaco team AMS, who swept qualifying yesterday with a 1-2-3 that saw their cars being the class of the field, or both fields actually, in both the overall and the DSG class, with Brigliadori and Konukoglu taking the outright pole position and now leading the race. 5 minutes and 54 seconds to go in the lovely BalatonPark circuit, a track long 4,115 meters, a track that was recently opened actually back in May of last year, so less than a year of activity for a already hugely successful track with the latest GPS technologies, 48 pit garages and 2 additional support paddock areas that sees Balaton become one of the most popular tracks in the Eastern Europe scene, and of course Balaton being a new track. There are a lot of series interested to race here, TCR European Endurance being one of them, and choosing the Hungarian racetrack as its first outing, with stage 1 now close to the end. 5 minutes and 5 seconds to go with the number 4 car currently trying to catch the leader Eric Brigliadori.
In TCR, how was this first part of the race? I guess even the first time in Balaton for you. So how was the track, and that was your first part of the race?
This is my first time that I'm racing in endurance format, so it's totally new format, totally new track, and the feeling was good because I guess the track is so funny. You do really enjoy each corner. It has long straights, sharp corners, etc. So I do enjoy the track. I do enjoy the endurance racing. I hope I'm honored to be a famous in the TCR world, but I hope I won't be a famous, and I hope I can see lots of women in this series as well.
It will be the next step. Today we got safety car, red flags, restart, overtakes, strategy, so everything together since the first race.
I saw everything at once, so I can say that it was a really educating race, let's say. At the start I made a little mistake. For example, I thought start is gonna, we are gonna restart. I just a little bit slowed down, but then I figured out that race is going on, so every little thing is a experience right now for me. Oh, for example, this one.
There is some attendance.
Yeah, they wanted to join our interview. I hope we will be competitive in this series, competitive with our Audi cars. Let's see what will happen in Vallelunga next.
And also tomorrow.
Yeah, we have tomorrow. I hope we can see more car in the endurance series, so it can be more competitive.
Definitely it will. To you, Daniele.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and thank you to Seda Kachan for her kind words. Of course, the leader of the ladies class, not only today but in the championship as well so far. And the Turk has become a driving force for female racing in Turkey, but in the TCR scene as well. Of course, 31 years of age and second in the 2023 Turkish Championship. She made her international debut last year in the TCR Italy around Imola. A very interesting driver to follow closely, and of course now in second place together with her teammate Ibrahim Okiai in the Audi RS3 LMS DSG car. Currently the number 4 car in second position, but here we can see Eric Brigliadori, whose words we heard actually before the start of the race. Of course, him being a very competitive driver and making a great pair together with Turgut Konukoglu, trying so far to lead the race and successfully doing so in the first 58 minutes of racing. We still have 2 minutes and 17 seconds to go before the pause that will see the race resume tomorrow morning at 10:20 a.m. local time. Through the chicane goes Ibrahim Okiai now towards turn 10 in a very technical second part of the track with, as Kachan said before, a complete track and a very fun track to drive on for drivers. Of course, long straights, sharp corners and hard braking zones like the one into turn 1 that Eric Brigliadori was now hitting, and now we can see the number 4 car getting towards the final part of the track, turns 12 and 13, and now the long sweeping double left-hand corners of turns 14 and 15 before the final turn, the number 16, before the start-finish line, with now 1 minute and 22 left on the clock. As we saw in the background, the Zillion Motorsport car, the Cupra of Zoltan Barkovic, and his teammate currently behind the wheel, Balázs Takács, with the Hungarian trying desperately to close things up, with Okiai unfortunately failing to do so in the first stage of the race. But of course we have tomorrow and another 60 minutes of special and outstanding images from BalatonPark circuit, as the number 2 car is now likely getting through turn 10 for the second to last time today, as the number 2 car is trying to hold down the fort. Fortunately, the number 3 car wasn't able to finish this first part of the race, with Pinar and Ozen forced to get out of the car after the former made a little mistake in the final corner. Final corner that Brigliadori is about to hit. Now turn 15. Here is turn 16 to start. Yet another lap will be lap number 25, with Brigliadori now towards the first right-hand corner along the 4.1 meter long track, 4.1 kilometer, long track here in BalatonPark circuit, as the clock hits 0, and we are therefore ready to close things up here with Eric Brigliadori currently in the lead together with his teammate Turgut Konukoglu, who was able to hold down P3 at the time in the first part of the race, and then after the pit stop phase getting back to the lead of this first part of the opening round of the TCR European Endurance 2024. Here is Brigliadori trying to get as quickly as possible to the finish line, leaving nothing but breadcrumbs to his rivals, with the fastest lap of the race set by the Italian with a 1 minute 44.805, almost 3 seconds quicker than the Cupra car of Batan Takács, who is trying his hardest to gain some time over Ibrahim Okiai, but the Turk doing a great job to hold down not only P2 but of course the first position for the DSG class. Here is Eric Brigliadori ready to get towards the final sector of the track, now hitting the chicane. Lovely entry for Brigliadori, who is now rounding out the final 2 corners, as the Italian will now start what looks to be the final lap of today, with Brigliadori now braking towards turn 1. It's a very difficult corner, actually, the opening turn of the track. This short and sharp right-hand corner that then flows very nicely towards turns 2, 3 and 4, which then lead to the back straight, where we saw many of the fans actually turning around from the main grandstand. Here they are to try and look for the cars on the back straight of this lovely new track here in Hungary, with the BalatonPark circuit hosting the opening round of the TCR European Endurance. Brigliadori now hitting the first of the two ever so important braking zones in the second sector. Turn 5 then leads towards this fast flowing part towards one of the two chicanes here on the track. Turns 8 and 9. You see Brigliadori braking perfectly once again, as he did throughout the whole weekend, really. A perfect job for the number 2 car, especially here on Saturday. Now the hairpin that leads Brigliadori towards the final sector of the race, actually of the first stage, with the race being decided tomorrow after another 60 minutes of exciting battles here in the TCR European Endurance Championship, with its maiden season starting here in Balaton. Brigliadori now handling his car perfectly towards the final 3 corners of this first stage of the opening round of the TCR European Endurance, as Brigliadori will now see the flag that indicates the end of stage 1, and Brigliadori is then the race leader after the first day of racing here in Balaton, with Ibrahim Okyay likely to follow closely behind in second position, and of course as the leader of the DSG class, with Ibrahim Okyay, and of course let's not forget the lovely work by Seda Kachan in the first part of the race. Here is the Turkish pair of Okyay and Kachan, with the 4 men now in the car. The number 4 coming round the final couple of corners to take the flag and of course consolidate their DSG lead. Here they are taking the flag of this first part of the race, and then we will see the Cupra come out of the final corner with Balázs Takács in the car. Here it is, the lovely Red Bull livery car of the Hungarian team in the home race, currently 3rd in the overall standings and 2nd in the DSG class. Of course, the race is not over yet. We will have another hour of racing tomorrow starting at 10:20 a.m. with, of course, local time, with another 60 minutes of exciting images here from BalatonPark. Brigliadori now ready to bring his car back to the pits. Lovely work from the Italian with the Turkish team here in part 1 of the opening round of the TCR European Endurance from BalatonPark. Of course, Brigliadori will try and do the same tomorrow, with the car responding really well to him and of course his teammate. Here are the highlights of the race, with the TCR Eastern Europe joining the TCR European Endurance guys for the first 25 minutes of racing. Lovely overtakes, a couple of safety cars, even a red flag, and some incredible strategy work from all cars here out on track today. And here is the reason of the red flag: an incident between 2 cars of the TCR Eastern Europe, with the number 74 of Zarko Knego and David Kajaya in the Merta Motorsport car, with the race restarting after a brief period under red flag conditions, with the TCR Eastern Europe guys fighting it out right to the line, with a last minute move, a last second move actually, from some of them to try and improve their positions. And then of course the lovely images for the TCR European Endurance, with Eric Brigliadori taking the lead after the pit stop phase and taking it all the way to the flag to be the race leader after day 1. Of course, 60 more minutes of racing tomorrow, with Ibrahim Okyay and Seda Kachan closely following behind in second place. Thank you for being with us, and from TCR TV, it's goodbye for now. See you tomorrow at 10:20 a.m. for part 2.